again. All right, no, let's talk about Jared Goff really quickly, because last 2 games, 6 turnovers. It can't happen. We understand that 3 fumbles, 3 interceptions. It just cannot happen. He knows that. And I'm going to try and be fair here with the Jared Goff stuff, because we could easily say, well, the 6 turnovers in 2 games, it kind of shows us a flash of what he was before he got to Detroit, a turnover-prone quarterback. Actually, his last year in L.A., he had the most turnovers among all quarterbacks, at least during his career. He's changed that narrative now. Josh Allen's kind of taken the crown. But for Jared Goff, though, he's given us a big enough sample size, Lucas and Sam and Brandon, that I'm not going to say he's a turnover-prone machine right now. There's 6 games left. He has an opportunity to kind of go out there and show that he is still the quarterback he is in Detroit. He's grown. He doesn't want to. He doesn't have to turn the ball over. I get all that, because Jared's job is very simple. I'm not asking this man to throw for 350 yards, 2 TDs, 3 TDs, although he's done that at times. All that he needs to do with this offensive line and this run game this week, take care of the football. Do not give this inept, at times, Saints offense a short field. It can't happen. And that's not just Jared. That's other players on this offense as well, turning the ball over. But for Jared, I have confidence he'll play a clean game this week. I do. And I'm going to say that because I do believe it. I think Jared has shown that when he does, and he had this thing going on at the beginning of the season where when he throws a pick, he would respond with a touchdown. I think we're witnessing a much more mature version of Jared Goff. So I'm going to lean on the side of I'm confident he'll kind of get these turnovers out of his system and continue to play well the rest of the season. Now, we'll see how that plays. You got a defense this week, like I said, that turns the ball over at a high rate. They're 4th in the league in takeaways. But again, I'm going to lean on the big sample size we have of Jared Goff so far, Sam, that he will not turn the ball over. He just can't happen.
Well, that's the thing. When you look at the totality of Jared Goff's career, he had some flashes with the Rams, particularly the last couple of years when he wasn't as good and Todd Gurley was declining and then was off the team, where he did have a tendency to turn the football over, particularly with fumbles, but he had a pretty high interception rate as well. And that has kind of reared its ugly head in the last couple of games. I mean, 6 turnovers in the last 2 games, that is 100% unacceptable. And I think a lot of us have changed our mindset on him to some extent, and I think he would be the first to say, I got to do better with that, because it definitely cost them the game against the Packers, and it probably should have cost them a game against the Bears. The fact that Jared Goff has turned the ball over 6 times in the last 2 games, and the Lions managed to be 1-1 in that stretch, is actually a goddamn miracle at this point. So maybe the Lions will be able to right the ship. Jared Goff can go back to playing good, clean football, and the Lions can still have their excellent season where they finish 12-5, 13-4, win the division, hopefully can compete for the 2 seed, but I'd say more realistically the 3. And Jared Goff, as we all know, at the end of last year and going into this year, what did Jared Goff have? About over 400 passing attempts without an interception, and that is a big sample size. So Jared Goff has showed a lot that he has a lot of the tendencies he had to turn the football over early on in his career. He's cleaned that up, and he's played cleaner football. He certainly has played cleaner football during his time with the Lions than he did during his time with the Rams, even when the Rams were really good in 2017 and 2018. But the Saints do present a bit of a challenge, because I'm looking at it right now, and you mentioned it, Jeff, how the Saints have done a pretty good job of turning other teams over. And the New Orleans Saints this season have a +6 turnover differential. The Lions have a -5, which, hell, the fact that they're 8-3 with a -5 turnover differential is also kind of a goddamn miracle. But then again, we'll take it. 8-3 is phenomenal. But the Saints, I mean, they've got Paulson Adebo like being one of the best corners in the league, and also a certified ball hawk this year. He's got 4. You got Tyrann Mathieu with 3. Marshawn Lattimore is going to be out, and that's something that the Lions could take advantage of, because they've got some receivers opposite Amon-Ra St. Brown that can make some plays, like Jamison Williams, who's emerging, and Josh Reynolds and the like. And we shall see. Yes, I'm giving Jamison Williams credit. Right on Lucas's last day, yep. but he's earned it. I can see that he's emerging into this offense. So I would probably predict a get-right game for Jared Goff as well. But the Saints are no joke. And if Jared Goff turns the football over multiple times again, then it becomes too much of a trend to where we can't ignore it. And we're kind of like, oh my God, this guy's a turnover machine again. He can't make it a habit. He got away with it once. It cost him once. Just don't do it again.
And that's it. That's all that needs to be said, Lucas. Mm-hmm. And again, we could say, we could talk about Hendon and the potential he has. We have not seen him in an NFL game, or we have not seen much of him at practice yet. So to say that he's the future at this very point, we just don't know. But he hears the talks. Like Jared's, he's been in this league for a while.
This isn't the first time he's been in a situation like this where he's getting questioned.
Absolutely played a big market in LA. He knows. He watched the draft. I mean, the Lions took Hendon Hooker. He's not going to sit there and be like, oh, Brad's just taking a throwaway pick. No, there's a reason why Brad took him. He's got a ton of potential. And if Jared keeps turning the ball over, not saying it will happen, but let's say if it does happen, Lucas, those conversations about Hendon are going to keep increasing. The questions coming at the podium, the questions coming to Jared Goff. Not that he'll ever play this year. There's no way in hell he'll play this year. I do not believe that. But just for next year, it's like, oh, how does Hendon look in practice? Like, Jared has to kind of quiet the narrative and just continue to play well. Just control what he can control.
Spot on. Control what he can control. Go out there and play confident, and Jared Goff will be fine. When Jared Goff gets flustered, and it doesn't even have to be his fault, that's when things start falling apart. But if he just realizes he goes back into the form that he was, that he has an excellent offensive line, he has an excellent wide receiver, an excellent run game, just to check the ball out of, because even last week against the Packers, there's wide open guys in the flats, and he's looking down the field to try to create a big play and swing that momentum. That's when Jared Goff starts making mistakes. If he just plays Jared Goff football and takes what's given to him, he'll get right back on track. I just get annoyed when Jared Goff tries to act like something he's not, and sometimes it's not always his fault because the line was breaking down last week, but when you're a quarterback with that much experience, at this point in your career, you should know. Let's just slow the game down. Instead of trying to get all these points back right now, slow the game down, take what's given to me. And like you could tell, he's thinking way too much out there. The amount of audibles he's doing at the line of scrimmage, that's fine to do every now and then, but it was consistent. You could see he did not have a feel for the game. So if he just calms down, like you said, Jeff, takes what's given to him, I think Jared Goff will be fine for at least the remainder of this season, absolutely.
No, I'm with you, Lucas. Brandon, I want to ask you about the whole Jared Goff stuff, at least over the last 2 games. Turned the ball over a lot, but where are you at with Jared and your confidence level for him moving forward? You think he'll just get back to what he's been doing, or what's your confidence level in Jared Goff?
Yeah, no, look, I think he's set a track record that he's not as careless with the ball as he's shown in the last 2 games. Over a stretch of a good stretch for the Lions, going back to about the middle of last season, coming into this year. If all these turnovers were interceptions and not fumbles, I would probably be a lot more worried. Obviously, a quarterback's job is to take care of the ball, but I do believe that some of the hits, some of the game plans that were schemed up against him over the last 2 weeks, they were specifically designed to take advantage of some weak points in the Lions' offensive line. I think heading into this next game, if I see him having the fumbles again, that's when I start to get a little bit worried, because that's a 3-game trend. You know, you got to cut that out. If it was, some of the interceptions he's had, they were tipped. People are running, the wrong routes and things of that nature. And you want to see him as a veteran quarterback make sure that he limits those mistakes when other people on the team makes mistakes. That is a sign of a great quarterback, and I want to see him be able to step into that light if he has that possibility. But ultimately, like I said, if it was more interceptions than just the fumbles, I would probably be a lot more worried.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, we can all agree that with Jared, no one is rooting for him to fail. But the reality is yes, if you're a Lions fan, you want Jared to keep playing clean. You don't want him to play bad. There's no way, no how. Especially for a team that you think will eventually be chasing Super Bowls. Yeah, you have to evaluate everybody. No one's safe on this roster. Even Jared with his sample size. Yeah, you look for him to play better. It's that simple. And I think he will this week. Let's go to break. We come back. We'll bring up the NFC playoff picture, talk about who the Lions will match up with, some of the teams, where the ranking is or the seedings are, and we'll have that discussion. And then when we come back, all right, when we go to break after that, we'll go around the NFL, give our picks for the weekend. We'll save the Lions one, though, for 9:30. But first, I got to tell you about our friends over at Planet Fitness.